Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
There we go.
Yeah, don't know what was happening there. I don't know why I had to let you in. You're supposed to be a panelist. Can you turn on your camera? There you are. Now I can't hear you. You muted yourself.
There we go.
There we go. Hi,
Look at
Sherry.
Sherry.
Hi.
A day has arrived, Jay.
Yay.
Oh, it's crazy days.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I'm just trying to do one little thing, coordinate a few little people. I was like, ooh, Becky, Lord.
I'm not so sure I'm going to do this again.
Oh, don't say that. I had a thought for another chapter. Close your ears, Sherry, because Sherry's like, uh-oh, because I just told her, I said, I'm not writing a book. I did everything I could. I did one chapter, I'm good.
Oh, I know how it is.
No pressure.
There you go.
I can't.
Hi, Kathy.
Hey, how's it going? Hey,
Good.
Julia.
Hi.
So, what's happening for everybody?
What's that?
I'm scrambling.
I think that's my middle name lately. And I think I got everything perfect, and then guess what?
Right.
Oh,
I'm dealing with teenage drama and hormones. Today's my daughter's birthday, and the homeschooling is just, I don't know. Oh,
so
it's
how
all
old is she?
online, but
So
it's just, she's losing it. I don't know. These kids,
I
I
think
feel
it's-
bad for them.
I
So
think it's
teenage
really
drama
hard.
though doesn't stop and start with the birthdays. This is probably what accelerated. Because
Well,
I have
yeah.
nieces that are in their 30s, and I swear they're still going through teenage drama.
Yeah. That doesn't make me
I
feel
don't have
better.
to connect.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Juliet. Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
The boys were so different. I have 4 boys. They were just so, I don't know. They weren't easy, but they were easier than a girl. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. The world is ending.
You captured it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have 2 daughters that are, well, actually, 2 daughters that are in their mid-30s. It doesn't change.
Okay, well, thanks, Becky, because I was hoping my nieces would grow out of it.
Oh, they may.
Sometimes I'm
but-
just like, are you still in high school? Okay, I've got to stop this conversation now because I can't take it.
Oh, tell me about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
I
crazy
didn't know
stuff.
geometry was like life altering.
David.
But I think for the kids, I think it's really tough for them to be isolated and away from. We have 10 grandkids, and the let's see, is Jason going to be? Are you? Let me see.
Oh, there's an attendee.
Yeah, he's
There we go.
attending. I want to.
Hey.
We've got our whole group here.
I know.
That's so awesome. Did you know that, Becky? We're all in the same
Accountability group.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that. That's pretty
That's
cool.
hilarious.
See, we've been in it long enough. We kind of do things the same. We request the same times for everything,
I was looking on the Trello board. I'm like, wow, look at they're right in a row. This is pretty cool because when I'm posting stuff on Trello, I have to go to between 2 boards
Oh, wow.
and then search. Like, where's that one? So, Jason, are you joining us now, or are you just doing or you just want to be an attendee?
I'm joining you.
Awesome. Can you turn on
How
your
come-
camera?
Yeah, how come my video's not on?
I do not know.
You have to turn it on.
You have to turn it on.
Let's
Does he
see.
have to be a panelist though for
Let
his
me-
video to
let
come
me-
on?
Let me promote you there. Does that work?
Because I think that's what you had to do for me. Because when I first
Yeah,
came
for
on
s-
board, I couldn't do camera, or that's why I sent you a chat.
There he is.
There he
Me
is.
too.
Now our team's complete.
Hey,
Well, there are others,
Dr.
you know,
L.
TJ and a bunch that are
That's
in another
true.
group. Yeah, so
They're in another group.
Well, our team for today.
Well, we're good. Happy to have all of you here, and it is 5:02. So let me get this synced up with, let's get this live on Facebook. Give me a minute to make it all happen.
look how clever Juliet
Can we
was.
direct anybody to the Facebook Live now?
Yeah, you can as soon as I get this spotlight on your book. And
What do you
yes,
say, Sherry?
by the time they get there, it will be good.
Cool.
I said how clever you were to put your contact information.
She's good.
That's actually
Oh.
a residual from my getting ready for my micro summit.
Oh,
I just realized it's a default.
you need to get closer to the camera, I think, to get that black artifact off of you.
Really? See, I don't
No,
think so.
it's
That's my new
further up.
green screen kind of thing. I just have to be very still, is what I'm finding. So let me set myself up like a little doll and then not move. It worked great when I first put it together, and then it's been kind of downhill since.
All right, we are going live.
Let's do it.
Live on Facebook. Yahoo! All right. We are just so excited because today is the day, the beginning of the book launch for the Game Changer Book 5. And this is really cool to see this all come together. And it's been really interesting and fabulous to be able to read the stories that have come from the hearts of each one of you. So this is the first of 7 interviews that will happen over the next couple of days in the promotion and exposure for the book, The Game Changer Book 5, the heart and soul behind it with Iman Aghay of Success Road Academy. So introducing each one of you, there's Juliet Bastian. Juliet, tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm Juliet Bastian with LifeWorks Consulting under GEM Enterprises. And what I love to do is really help people figure out that they're all a precious gem and how they can shine the best that they can be. So I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Beautiful. And Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl, also known as Sherry Mers, and I am also thrilled to be here. I got to edit a couple of the chapters from the people here, and they are amazing. So
Yes, being able to read these chapters, you just, wow, just very, very touching. Thank you for being here. Kathy, tell us about you.
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer turned personal trainer. I work with women over 40, from 40 to 80. I mean, it's a broad range, helping them get fit and feel great in their bodies. And it's just, I'm excited to be here. So very fun.
Happy to have you. And Jason, you're muted. There.
I'm Jason Surratt, and I'm very excited to be here. I really told my story about just my journey of achieving something that was in every odd impossible. And, I really learned a lot along that journey, and it's been the foundation of what I've used to really gain success in other areas of my life, whether it be the corporate world or the personal world as well. So I'm really excited to share my story with the world and let them know what I've learned on my journey.
Very good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And for Mr. David Grinder, tell us about you.
yes, this is great to be here. I'm David Grinder, and I'm a business technology expert. I work with small businesses on their IT and working with their strategy and implementation. And my story pertained to events that kind of led up to why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Very cool. Well, being the publisher of this book, I am just really excited to get to meet each one of you and I've read your stories. I've got to go through them kind of with a fine tooth comb after the editors do as we put this book together. And I'm so delighted by the stories that have come from this book. And I remember when we were all being introduced to this at a session that Iman had about storytelling and how powerful storytelling is and why storytelling is plays such an important role in the lives of us as business owners and as leaders in this world, and also how it can affect those that hear the stories. And so that's why we're here today. So The Game Changer, this is book 5 of this series, and typically we have all the books right on hand and already ordered, but mine didn't come in right on time, and they're on order, I'm sure, for everybody else. It just, typically I have them in hand and everybody's showing their books on my normal book launches, but that's okay because it is available and it is on Amazon right now, The Game Changer Book 5. But let's have a conversation about what possessed you to decide to write a chapter in the book. How about you, David?
Well, I had to overcome a lot of things in my life, and we can all overcome in life or a situation if we press on. However, that can be really, really hard to do sometimes, like a better said than done. And so I really wanted to, inspire people to not give up and to keep going. That's pretty much was the push behind me.
Have you felt that by expressing in the form of written word has changed you? What did it do for you on a personal level by having to put pen to paper and actually write this out?
First, probably 2 things come to mind. Something like in the present, and then maybe forward thinking. I was I was thinking about, how we're almost all like closed books and we're walking around in life and we choose what we're going to share with people. Maybe we pull out a chapter or a page or a story, and depending on who we know, they hear a little more of us. And, writing a book is like, or any kind of writing, it's almost like you're exposing yourself. It's like opening that book. It's like opening my life, and this is me. And this is what I'm going to share to the world, and the world's going to read me. And so I had to throw away timidity and embarrassment to be able to just share my life. And it happened at a couple of levels, when you first want to tell people you're going to write it, then when you have to go take this material you wrote down and take it to editors, and now they're looking at you and, what's in my head? Do I got to, and then when it's first, you want people to maybe preview it and look at it, and you face it again, judgment calls. And then when you finally say, let's send it to the world. And so you have to, the changes, that timidity, embarrassment of why is it there? Why do I need it? This is experiences people can value in life. So it changed me to be more open and be able to share and not be all hung up in my head about that. But besides that, at the end, I'm starting to think and ponder, it's almost making me like look inside and say, what role do I want to choose to play in life? It's making me ponder things. Who do I want to be? What kind of person am I? And all that kind of stuff. And
how do we serve?
Right. It's like, do I want to work a job for a wage, or do I want to take my life and make myself available, my wisdom, things I've learned, words I could speak to people, how I could help them and maybe move them in a positive direction. And so it had that effect on me too, to re-examine. And because a book is a mass communication tool. So it's not like I just talk to a neighbor. Here I could be talking to the world, and there's a bigger impact on my experiences.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. How about for you, Juliet? Why did you decide to participate in this
I think the word you used earlier was possessed, which I think is probably more appropriate and describes me. For many, many years, people have asked me, you should write a book and you should do this. And I really resisted it for so long. And I think as I look back at my life, I always looked at it as I felt that you had to be, if you were to influence people in the world, you really had to be a leader. You have to understand that you have followers, and there's a certain level of responsibility I've always felt that you had to people that you talk to, that you teach, that you mentor. And I think for many, many years, I just didn't feel that I had it in me to have the voice to do that, even though people were looking at me saying, yeah, you're a leader. We want to hear this. You told us this story. This makes absolute sense. You should write a book. So it was, the seed had been planted. And so then this opportunity to be able to at least start without a full book, which was just really overwhelming to me, was to be able just write a chapter. It was like baby steps. And I have to say that the process, you know, of moving through this made it really easy for me to be able to do. And, you know, I have to laugh because when I was listening to David and he was saying, now the world reads it, that part just hit me just now. Oh man, you know, I knew a few people did, but oh my gosh, it's on bookshelves, you know. So I've only told a few family members, but this is clearly different. So, you know, so yeah, it was, you know, an element that I knew was in me, but I just think that I just didn't feel that I was ready, you know, that I could live up to the responsibility of mentoring and sharing what I had that would be of value to others.
Beautiful. Yeah, very good. And you know, we live in such an amazing time, and I don't think there's ever been a time in history when as leaders, which we all are, we're all business owners, we're all leading in our own special ways and doing our own special magic that we bring to the world, but we have to be able to tell the stories because that's what connects.
Right.
Thank you. And for you, Kathy?
I think for me, what surprised me is that I had a voice and that people wanted to hear what I had to say. I've thought about writing a book for many years. I actually made notes. I put it on the bookshelf and just left it there. And like Juliet, you know, when this opportunity came up, I was like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. But the surprising part was that people actually wanted to hear what I had to say. And that was exciting. The scariest part, like David said, was sharing it with the editor. And Sherry was my editor. And it was scary to actually, when you, like you said, Becky, when you put paper, you know, pen to paper, that's like your heart. And you just open it up. And when you're sharing a piece of your story, it was scary to start, you know, and Sherry was very gracious as she kind of led and guided my writing. And it was, I think what it's done for me is given me the confidence to start a book of my own and really, you know, bring my expertise into that book. So I'm excited to get the next book, and I have a couple of ideas for others down the road. So I think it's brought a lot of just life-changing confidence into my life. So
that's
very
beautiful.
fun.
It's beautiful. There's something that is, when you can express those words on paper and convey the thoughts, a lot of times it leads to a lot of clarity, even as to who we are as people. And we don't always recognize that until we actually go through an experience like that, as to what it is that we bring to the world. Jason, would you mind to share?
Of course, yes. Thank you for asking. I've had the pleasure of listening to everybody else go first and then making me think back when I had been done with my professional side of my baseball journey. I had always said that I would like to write something called baseball memoirs because of how much the game of failure of baseball relates to life. And at the time I was doing sales, and there was so much correlation that I said, wow, I would love to write that out, not so much for everybody else to read, but probably more so just for myself. And I don't know. I stopped playing professionally back in 2008, 2009. So this has sort of been something that's kind of been manifested in my head. And, we talk about things, how when you put it out there in the world, it sort of just comes to you. And I mean, that's 10, 12 years ago. And look at this opportunity that's come to me now. And so I'm very grateful for it. And so it's certainly been a vulnerable experience. And I think that's the word that's kind of popping out into my head as I hear everybody else talk, because of, putting your heart and soul, so to speak, into that writing, and knowing that people are going to judge it, which is okay. I mean, we're all human, we judge, that's how we navigate life. And so doing that, it's like, wow. And you get to have that story out there for people to see and for people to read. And my goal at this point in my life, I've realized that I've achieved a couple things in my life. I can't say I've achieved everything, but I've gotten to those points where I've hit the goals, and I've found my saying, wow, is this it? And what I started to realize is that fulfillment is truly my goal, and inspiring others is where I feel the most fulfilled. And so this book has given me sort of the start. This opportunity to write the chapter is giving me the start to do that and begin this journey. And hopefully this is something I do for the rest of my life, where I can inspire others to achieve their goals and dreams. So I'm really excited.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. And Sherry, I knew you as Sherry, so.
I would change my name if I had the opportunity. I answer to both of them. So it's been enlightening to hear my colleagues. As you know, I've been a writer for quite some time. I have even written a memoir with my daughter that included some vulnerability. And yet, what I got from this chapter was an exploration of some unresolved feelings toward my father. That I love my father. I have always loved my father. I did not realize that some of my limiting beliefs had been instilled in me by my father. And so writing this chapter was kind of a journey of discovery and forgiveness of my father and myself. And it was unexpected. Let's put it that way. But I am thrilled to have been included, and I'm thrilled to have edited 3 of the stories in this panel.
Well, and that's a special gift that you have, to be able to do the editing, to take words and help shape them and craft them in a way that makes a better read, and actually oftentimes much more accurately conveys what the heart of the writer is really wanting to express. So it's a special gift you have.
Well, thank you. I have to say, most of the stories were very well crafted in the first place. And
they typically are, just little fine touches.
Didn't need a whole lot of editing.
So Sherry, we'll start with you on this question. Would you encourage others to take the time to write even a chapter for themselves in a book like this? And if so, why?
Of course. Well, the first reason is I'm a writing coach. It's my job to encourage.
It's your job.
Right. But, to pull it back from that, writing is an act of courage. And it's a way to understand yourself. It's a way to gain catharsis from issues you might not even know you have until you begin writing. So absolutely, I would encourage that for many reasons. I think it was Maya Angelou who said, there's no greater agony than to bear a story untold within you. And
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. How about for you, Juliet?
So, and I resonated with what Sherry just finished by saying is, yeah, I think for me, my story and doing this, it really helped me express to many people what I was going through and what I had suppressed, because it was the journey to get to the destination. It was the journey that embarrassed me, and it overshadowed what the message was and what ended up being my story, right? And I journal. I've been journaling for years, so I have journals. I don't read them really. I get up every morning. It's like a religion. I get up every day and I always journal and morning and night. So I've been writing stories, and then on the side I'll tell people, but to write it out does make a difference, because it really helps you appreciate the messages that are coming to you. You know, we have a lot of chatter. And so I think that a lot of stuff goes on in our minds about what we know, or this is what happened, or this is how I process it. And we get involved in that, or we speak it, or we see it, right? But there's other things that impact that. And sometimes it's distracting from what really is the message behind it. And so when you write it, it puts it in a static state. And then you go back and you read it, and it's always, I like to think at a different level of awareness. Now, I wrote this, we're brand new off of this. When I read it, I would suggest when I read this again in a month or two, I'll have a different level of awareness and take away something more of value. Whereas something expressed in a different way is, you know, in that instant and in that moment. But this is really something that stays. So I would say yes, do it. Don't be afraid. I'll even say, I'll put this out here too. I even have the thought for another chapter, not like Kathy, not a book, but another chapter. I could do one more chapter.
Oh, that's awesome. I think that writing our stories gives us so much clarity, and the person that we are when we write that chapter is not the person that we will be even 6 months from now, because the healing, the journey that it takes us on, and we grow from that.
Yeah.
You know, it's such an important aspect, and I don't think a lot of times that we realize the full power of story and what it can do. And I look at families around, you know, before COVID, when you went out to dinner a lot, you would see complete families around the table just on their cell phones, nobody communicating, nobody talking. And what I find in that is such a sadness that these families are not passing story on from generation to generation. I've been watching a series called Finding Your Roots on PBS, and it is amazing that the number of people from all walks of life that have no idea, from more than maybe their parents' generation or or maybe their grandparents, what went before. And they through this Finding Your Roots, if you want to find a really good series to watch, it's truly amazing. It takes from every nationality, and they go back into the roots to find out where their heritage is and the things that those generations of people went through. And why don't we share our stories? Why don't we, you know, because how do we learn and how do we teach? By story.
Right.
So for Kathy, why do you feel that storytelling is important in our day and age and in the time that we're living?
Well, I love what you just shared about your roots. That has been on my heart for a long time, is sharing stories about my grandfather and my father. And I wanted to write a memoir about my father. I wrote when he passed about 10 years ago, suddenly. And I wanted to write down every single memory that I had about him. And then I started trying to craft that into stories, you know. And so it's a work in progress. It's been sitting on the shelf for 10 years. I started way back and haven't come back to it. But I totally agree. I just think stories, they're inspiring, they're life-changing, they're enlightening. you find themes in stories, especially life stories. If you're, I know when I did this exercise with just a chapter, I found looking through all the stories of my life, I found a theme. And sometimes those themes keep you locked up. And once you discover them, you can unlock the key. You unlock something to get to that next level. So I just find that stories are just they're life altering. And if you let them be, you have to be open to hear it and to change and be willing to get to that next level. So yeah, they're important, very important.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. Jason, what would you say to somebody that you were leading, that you were inspiring about writing their story? How would you encourage them? What words would you use?
It's a good question. I am like Juliet in the sense where I believe in the power of journaling. And so that's a question I always ask somebody when they come to me with some sort of question or some sort of advice, I guess. And I always ask them, do you journal because of the power of journaling? And for me, it's a very, very personal experience. I think everybody's experience is different. And for me, because I have that same thing that Juliet mentioned, a lot of that chatter, a lot of that inner talk, and it allows me to take that inner talk and put it onto paper, which takes away from the mental bandwidth so that chatter is not running in the background anymore. It's out and it's on paper and it's out of my head. And then it gives me a chance to analyze it, whether that story I've made in my head is either real or not real. And then I like to go even deeper, and I like to find out if there's any subconscious things that may be running those stories that come from that chatter. So I always ask that question, are you journaling? And so that would lead me to tell them about the characteristics and the power behind journaling, which to me has led me to the ability to be able to write the story. Because being a New Yorker, I tell this to a lot of people, I barely speak English, right? And for me to actually write a story and put it out on paper for the world to read, it's like, it's a 180 compared to, I think of my days of hanging out with my friends on the street. So I definitely wasn't thinking that I'd be writing a book back then, or be able to write a part of a book. So I would encourage somebody to start with journaling and then explore it from there. And if they feel called to, an inner calling to really get that out for other people to hear, because most of the inspiration comes from our own journey and letting other people know what we've experienced so they can learn or be inspired to take that next step.
Very cool. I have an article that I wrote recently, and it's called "The 4 Pillars of a Story Well Told." And I think that when we write our stories, there's 4 different things that we can kind of classify or define within the pages of a book, and that's becoming an advocate, being a way shower, being a truth teller, and being a unifier. All those things connect together in a well-told story. And it's such a vital piece of leading in today's world, which our world truly needs. And we, Iman always says, you never know the story that went behind it, so always be kind. It's so very, very important. David, why do you feel that storytelling is important in today's world?
Well, in my chapter 8, by the way, I talk about a caged bird, and that wants to come out. And in all of us, we have that caged bird. I really believe that. And that is dying to come out. And if I think about this, each one of us, they're inside. Sometimes we can get in our world and think we're all alone, but there's this wrestling or this fight within us, and it's a common human experience. And with stories, it can open someone's mind, and maybe for just a brief moment. It's kind of like on a cloudy day, it's all clouds, and for a minute maybe the clouds part and the sun comes down and shines, and then boom, the clouds cover back up. And I think about that with stories. That story kind of like parts the clouds in someone's mind, and maybe for a moment my story can just kind of like drop something, drop a possibility, drop another viewpoint, something that's right now maybe their minds are full, and they're thinking a certain way or believing a certain thing. And if I could just park that and drop some other thoughts, maybe that could totally change the direction of their life, and
Fresh perspective.
in a positive direction,
Mhm.
where they want to go, and maybe open up their mind and their soul to allow that bird to leave that cage, and
Yeah.
that's what I think is kind of powerful about stories. You just have that ability to enter in and deposit something.
Beautiful. This has been such a delightful time just to be able to connect with all of you, because we're all busy with our lives, and we see each other in passing, so to speak, but getting to know each one of you this way is really beautiful. And it means a lot, because we read the stories, and yet when we have a conversation like that, it really makes a different kind of connection as well. So for those that will listen to this video later, or maybe that has seen it live right here, pick up a copy of The Game Changer and think about the power of story and read the stories. Take the time to read through each of the stories. Some will resonate, some will not. Some will just spark that creativity within you, and others will, maybe won't fit, but at the same time, realize the heart and the connection from each one of the 34 authors in this book. That's pretty amazing. Amazing stories. And each one of us, no matter who we are, we have a story to tell. And I think it's time to tell it. So I want to thank each one of you for being here, for giving of yourselves, for leading in the way that you do. And keep on doing what you're doing. It's amazing. So thank you.
Well, I
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity too.
Does
Thank you for
anybody
having
have, thank you. Is there any other thoughts anybody wants to share before we finish this?
I would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Becky. You did a lot of work on this. We really appreciate
second
you.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I second.
Yeah, in the first meeting, just your calm, pleasant demeanor, I said, boy, this is going to be okay. Maybe I can get this done.
We
I
can
didn't
get
have
through
some
it.
taskmaster whipping me.
Come
gonna
on,
allow
get
me
it done.
And I'll
Awesome.
say this, I know I shared this with you in an email. It was like for my maiden journey of writing, for a public, you just really made it easy. It was, there were times I was like, hey, I'm in the corner. I'm really not doing this because I'm not too far into it to quit, right? But you had just really, it was a great guidance, and just really your whole demeanor and how you handled everything, because there's a lot of authors in this book.
It
And
is.
so, yeah, the way that you manage the whole process, really, for my maiden voyage, I mean, it's one of those things, if it's something you're scared to do and you do it for the first time, and you can either have a great experience behind it or you can have a horrific one. And that's what you walk away with. Either you'll do it again or you won't. So I kid, yeah, it was terrifying, but I have to say that it really opened my mind, because literally this morning I said, that's another chapter, not quite a book, but it's a chapter, right? So I have to thank you for that, because if I was going to
Thank
go
you.
through this, I really appreciate the fact that you were my foundation to be able to do that.
So appreciated. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
imagine it was a bit like herding cats.
Yes, it is. And you're always, I did it last year for this. This is the fourth one, I think it is, that I've done. And I've done other compilation books, and each one is uniquely different. And each time I get to improve upon what each time is something you can improve on to make it better and easier for everybody. But thank you. That was awesome.
One more thing I could throw in real quick. We kind of already said this, but it is a time-consuming thing and a lot of work. But what it did for me was a lot of things, because at first I'm going through this deep contemplation of my life. I got stories here and there, and then I had to stop and focus and say, okay, what could I really communicate to people? What message do I want to bring? And so I got to pull out events and how can I weave them through to create a message. And when you go through all that work, it makes you into a more whole person. You're able to maybe convey things in ways you couldn't do before. So there's a maturing process along with a serving of who you are and what you have to offer and give people. You accomplish that too. So it's incredibly worthwhile.
And you never know who really needs to hear a story like
Right.
yours.
Right.
You really,
Yes.
truly don't. Because, sometimes it can be just that one story that is read that can give them hope, give them a fresh perspective, lead to change for them too. And it takes courage to share our stories, but in the sharing is where there's life and there's vitality and there's a giving back to the world in many ways through the sharing of story. All right. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for being here, and keep an eye on that. You've got your launch teams all poised and ready to purchase the book. If you have any questions, reach out to me, and watch how the bestseller ranking goes. Because we're already a bestseller, but we're just not a #1 yet.
Awesome.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm so
Thank
excited to
you.
be a part of this. Thank you
Thanks.
so much, Becky.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
for inviting us.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care.